Hello, I would like to welcome you to Supply Chain 568, a class dedicated to understanding the financial impacts of supply chain decisions. My name is Richard Parsons and I'll be working with you on this course. Let me introduce myself briefly. I've spent most of my career working for Mars Incorporated, and while in that career, even though my PhD is in economics, in my career, I spent a lot of time on plant management teams, and I was also in charge of what we call the S&OP process, which is sales and operations planning, where we dealt with inventory issues and problems with customers and making our supply chain work. So I feel like this is a great opportunity for a subject for a class. When we talk to our community industry leaders about supply chain, this is one thing they were very adamant they wanted us to talk about, is the impact on financials of the supply chain activities. So that's a little bit about me. I've been teaching for about 8 years. I've been teaching at Texas A&M here in Texarkana for the last 4 years. Also, I'm APIC certified. That's Production and Inventory Control Society, and that's something I'd encourage each of you to look into. It's a certification. You take a series of tests. You would all qualify to take it when you get your MBA, and if you study up, it really is the kind of thing you can pass and be certified in inventory and production management. Anyway, let's talk about this class. This is a new class. It's never been taught before. So I'm very interested in your input into what works and what doesn't work. The kind of things we want to be aware of, for example, you may remember in the 1990s that Dell Computer became very well known for just turning the world upside down by creating a supply chain that had allowed it to collect the cash payment from its customer before it ever paid the supplier for the parts that it built. And that's quite an amazing situation. Usually as companies grow, they take lots of money. Dell was able to grow on the customer's money. Let's talk about how this class is structured. I have 4 subjects. They're organized by week because this is only a 5-week course. The first week we're going to focus on working capital. The next week we'll focus on inventory. The third week we'll focus on purchasing, accounts payable, and accounts receivable, collections. And the final week, the 4th week, we'll focus on transportation. There is no textbook. I have set up a series of readings in the course content for each week. These readings are a collection from some very simple blog postings on the internet to some more complicated journal articles from academic journals. When you have the journal articles, don't get bogged down in the statistical calculations. It's important you read these articles, and you're a graduate student, so you should be able to take a lot out of them. But you're not expected to, most of these articles will take a data set and do some statistical tests to try to prove things one way or another. That's not your focus for reading the article. Your focus is to understand what they came up with, what the other literature says as they review the literature and set the stage for their test, and also to understand how they collected data and what they went about doing. So don't worry about the things that you don't understand, the statistical tests. Read them for what you can get out of them. Every week you will be required to do 3 things. The first is to send me a 1-page write-up on the key things you learned from the readings. This is kind of a reflection. It'll let you say, what was really important to me there, what did I learn? The second thing is, for every week I've posted a topic relevant question on the discussion board, and I'd like everyone to participate in that. There's just as many points for that as for these other 2 things. So you need to participate on the discussion board with each other discussing that question. Don't be shy about that. we all have things we know and don't know about, and just share your opinions and what you think and what you believe is the right thing on each of these questions. The third thing is you have a quiz every week. Now these quizzes are learning exercise, not assessments. And so you're allowed to take each quiz twice. And you will need to do that because as you take the quiz, there will be some questions that you come across in the quiz and you'll say, boy, I didn't see that in the readings. That's okay. It's things I believe you need to know about, and you can go out and find the answer and then go back and take the quiz again. If you have any trouble figuring out how to do the quizzes or come up with the answers to go back, call me. Let's talk about it and I can help you. I expect everyone to get all their points on the quizzes because when you go back the second time, you know what you're trying to answer. Then finally, in this class, you're required to do a paper and we have a final exam. The paper is really an important part of this class. It's not really a research paper, although you have to do research for it. It's primarily a thinking paper. For example, in this paper, you need to pick a company. You need to do research to understand everything you can about that company's supply chain. You need to understand where their manufacturing plants are, where their customers are, what materials they buy and ship into their plants. You need to understand, you need to look at their financials and calculate all their ratios for days inventory, days sales outstanding, those kinds of things. Understand how they're doing. You look at that over the years and against their competitors. And you'll find some very interesting things. Once you understand the company's supply chain, then the main point of the paper is for you to think about it and tell me what are the key things that impact profitability on that supply chain. What are the things that you would recommend they might consider or look at to improve their profitability by making changes to their supply chain? And yes, you can do that. And again, if you have questions, this is a small class. Please call me and let's talk about any things you're struggling with or you would like to know a little more about. An example of how you can improve things with the supply chain decision. In our candy factories, if you look at making manufacture of candy, the most expensive cost is actually labor. Transportation is not very expensive. Candy is heavy. And when you load a truck, you get FTL, full truckload, you get that very quickly just based on the weight of the candy. And there's still empty space in the truck after the truck has all the weight that it's designed to carry. The opposite is true for something like dry pet care. With that, you fill up the truck and cube it out before you ever reach the weight that the truck is designed to carry. So because in candy you have very low transportation cost and very high labor cost, what you do is you have large concentrated plants where you can become very efficient, very automated, and then you ship the product all over the country and the shipping cost is rather minimal because you've minimized the big costs, the labor cost. So those are the kinds of things we're going to think about. I look forward to working with you on this. I hope you enjoy it. These 5-week classes go so fast, so stay current and don't hesitate to call me anytime. We need to not let things drag out if there's any problems. So I look forward to working with you. Talk to you soon and good luck on the course.